Our healthcare providers and first responders need to be assured that if they are attacked, assaulted, or harassed while on the job, that there is a strong legal mechanism in place to deliver them justice. As it stands today, Madam Speaker, that protection simply does not exist. C-321 will serve three main purposes. It will be a powerful deterrent to those who seek to commit violence against our frontline heroes. It will signal to frontline workers that we value them, we're looking out for them, and the justice system will protect them. And three, it will help throw weight behind a national conversation that needs to be had to start making these workplaces safer.
Madam Speaker, it is an honor to rise in the House to speak to Bill C-321, a bill which would amend the criminal code to protect and defend our men and women serving on the front lines. A bill led by my dear friend, fierce advocate and Conservative Shadow Minister for Mental Health and Addictions, the Honourable Member for Cariboo Prince George. In my short time here on Parliament Hill, I have seen his advocacy for the mental health and well-being of Canadians in action. From our time together at Health Committee, seeing him fight for Canadians with addiction issues, to watching him bring in a life-changing program, the 988 Suicide Crisis Line, a crisis line that will save thousands of lives. We know his legacy will be one of saving lives. We know that I can't think of anything more honorable or noble than that. But his work here is just beginning. Today, he is bringing forward legislation to protect our nurses, paramedics, and all of those on the front lines, the very people who risk their lives every day to protect us. And I couldn't be more proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with him as co-sponsor to this legislation. I have three reflections on this bill: the frontline heroes in Calgary, what this legislation brings to the table, and why it is needed now. In my city, I have thousands of people from Bridlewood to Evergreen, all the way to Lakeview, who work in these jobs. Every day, they wake up and go to work, saving lives and supporting those who need it the most, and sometimes having to endure the heartbreak of losing the people they care about. On top of that, these folks are barely scraping by due to an increasing cost of living and a gut-wrenching carbon tax. I know this because during my campaign and in the 24,000 conversations I had, I heard their stories. I saw the pain in their eyes. These are my neighbors, the heroes of Calgary heritage. They work in some of the most honorable professions in our country, and Canada must do better in showing them how valuable they truly are. Which brings me to my next point. What does this legislation bring to the table, and how does it protect our heroes? The bill, if passed, will amend the criminal code to consider an assault against a nurse, paramedic, firefighter, or other frontline worker, including healthcare staff, an aggravating circumstance upon sentencing. By making this amendment, this legislation gives greater teeth to our prosecutors seeking justice for those assaulted, abused, or violated on the front lines. It sends a message to bad actors thinking they can walk into an emergency room, an ambulance, or a care home and hurt our frontline workers. And finally, it ensures that the perpetrators of these horrific acts are put behind bars. So what's the urgency behind passing this legislation? More and more of our people on the front lines are reporting increased abuse, violence, and assault every year. In fact, we know from the Canadian Association of Emergency Physicians that over half of emergency department nurses are physically or verbally abused any given week. 43% of hospital nurses will be sexually harassed or assaulted this year. And the number of violence-related lost time claims for frontline healthcare workers has increased by almost 66% over the past decade. The cost of this? Absenteeism. Nurses often have to seek care or therapy because of the trauma they experience, meaning the people who care for us when we need it the most are unable to because of the abuse they've faced. We know that in 2016, the annual cost of absenteeism to nurses, for nurses due to illness or disability, was nearly $1 billion. For paramedics, 75% of them reported experiencing violence, many suffering from psychological wounds in the form of stress, anxiety, and PTSD. Every time these heroes go to work, they know they may not come home. They should at the very least know They will not be subjected to violence or abuse from the people they serve, care for, and protect. So it's time for us to do the same and serve them. Bill C-321 does just that by protecting those who protect us. It is common sense legislation and long overdue. Madam Speaker, to my colleagues across this chamber, this need not be a partisan undertaking. Let us come together to pass this legislation and change the lives of our heroes on the front lines. Thank you very much.
The honourable member